He's got a really loud voice.
All right, hello and welcome to episode 3 of Breathing Room. I'm your host, Rob Lavati, and I'm joined today by Abby the Spoon Lady and the Tater Boys. Really excited. Thanks for joining me today, y'all. Local legends of Asheville here today in the studio.
Oh, goodness.
What do you call me?
I called you a legend.
A tater boy.
Oh,
Imitator.
Okay. We'll let you get by this one time.
So I'm coming to you today from the Asheville Play Studios in Asheville, North Carolina. A big shout out to them, as well as Matt Dunn with AV Live for producing and making this whole stream possible today.
Yeah.
For anyone who's joining us for the first time, this show is called The Breathing Room. This is our 3rd episode. I started this show just a couple weeks ago here. We had an episode with the local band Chill Tonic.
Love those guys.
Shout out to Taso, Dempsey, and Michael there. And then episode 1 was with Nate Robinson, who goes by the stage name Mad Robinson, and Kat Dolan, who's a poet from Boone and a local entrepreneur up there. So really the intent of this show is to take some space for ourselves and kind of settle into the room, settle into each other here, and just talk about some of the things that have been going on in your lives, some of the things that are maybe backstories behind the music that people may not quite know goes into the full picture of being a busker and playing in a band and just being an artist in general. So just a quick plug on myself here. Again, my name is Rob Lavati. The show is called The Breathing Room. You could check us out on Instagram at Breathing Room Show. And today I want to give a shameless plug before we get started on meditation. It's something that I've done on and off over the past 3 or 4 years, and I've been in a pretty good stride lately where I've been doing it every day for 10 minutes a day. And it's something that has brought me a lot of peace and I think understanding when things seem to get really intense, you know? So with that, let's take 10 seconds here to all just take some breathing room. Let's take a moment of silence. You can close your eyes if you want. You don't have to. And we'll just get settled in and then get ready to kick off the show. All right. How did that feel? Was that nice?
I almost fell asleep.
Yeah, me too.
Well, you haven't had it in about 3 days.
Yeah. You guys can fall asleep quickly, huh?
Oh, at any place at any time.
That's good. That's a skill.
When the light switch goes, it's like on, off. There's like no in between, no getting tired. It's either I'm awake or I'm not.
Right.
And she gets like 3.5 hours of sleep every night, whether she needs it or not, right?
Yeah, I work a lot.
I've never seen her
work a
when
lot.
she wasn't upright. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if she sleeps or not. Because she's up when I go to bed and she's up when I get up. And I
just work a lot.
It's really fun when you just wake up and then she's like, "Do you know about X thing?" And then I'll be like, "No."
Yeah,
And then there's just an info dump.
Oh, yeah.
Of every little detail to said subject
I'll wake
in
up.
like a 3-minute
Okay.
span.
I'll wake up
That's
at
a
like
nice breakfast.
4 or 5 in the morning because the house is quiet, right? And
Right.
so
It's not
then I
quiet the
can
rest of
work.
the time?
No. So then I can work a little bit and I can get some stuff done. And then so by the time they wake up, I'm like, hey, this advertiser, this is tickets, email,
been
blah,
up.
blah, blah, blah.
You've already been up for
Yeah.
3-4 hours
4
at that
cups of
point.
coffee later.
Right.
Yeah, I'm already good to go, ready on stage too, before they're even up.
We got to wake up earlier, I guess. I don't know. Oh, man. So do you think you guys could, real quick, each of you introduce yourselves? Just give us a quick overview about your role in the band and maybe how long you've been playing your instrument and what brought you to Asheville.
You start
Coin
with
toss.
me.
Coin toss.
Oh, I don't want to start.
All right, well, I'll start. I'm the
That
spoon
means I'm going to have
lady.
to follow Abby?
Yes.
God.
Tough
We
act
already
to follow.
do that.
I'm the spoon lady, and I do spoony stuff. I play the spoons, and I am a rhythmical genius. Don't. I play the spoons, and I tell stories and stuff, and And I came to Asheville. I was riding trains and traveling and stuff like that. And I had spent some time in Nashville, and tourism kind of took over Nashville.
Right.
And eventually I ended up floating this way because I had been in and out of Asheville for a while. But it seemed like a good place to go. I had a lot of friends here. They were already settled. Asheville's full of a lot of ex-travelers, so that kind of makes it nice.
Right.
Yeah, my story's it's a little different. I've been playing bass for, my name's Tub Martin. They call me Tub now. I'll explain why in a few seconds. But last year in February, I got stung. A hive of bees fell on me while I was working and almost killed me. There's 113 stings that they know of.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I couldn't work. I was my body had shut down, and I called a very good friend of mine because I really didn't have a whole lot of resources. And
Right.
he said, "Why don't you go to Asheville, man? You go up there and play guitar on the street." I said, "Where am I going to stay?" He said, "Well, you can stay in the street too." I said, "Well, let me think about it." And 3 days later, after the landlord kicked me out, I thought, Asheville.
Yeah.
Street music, right? And that's what I did. I grabbed my guitar and landed in Nashville. By the grace of God, I met Abby on the second day I was here.
Wow.
And she had asked me if I had ever played tub bass, and I actually had played tub bass in a couple of shows many, many years ago. And so she said, "Come on, let's go to the hardware store." And we built one. I've been playing tub with her ever since. And it's an amazing turnaround for the old tub, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But,
And I know we've talked about the tub a little bit, and I know you've almost gotten to a point where you prefer playing it.
Listen,
prefer
let
the
me
sound
explain
you can
something to
get
you.
out of it.
I prefer the thing that pays, and I've made more money with that tub this summer than I ever did with an upright. And that's,
Right.
and that's not necessarily true, but in terms of how it all turned out, it's been amazing. But yeah, I'm a tub man now. I could never be the best upright player in the world, but I think I could be in the top 10 on the tub. So.
There you go.
He's being modest. He's at least in the top 3. Earl
you
Scruggs
heard
in
it
the
here.
tub right
You heard it
now.
here first.
Heard it here. That's right.
There you go.
Well, my name's Dusty Whytis. Been playing the banjo for about 5 years, kind of. Started out on 4-string. I was faking it. I played guitar since I was a kid. Probably about 3.5 years of actually playing the banjo like a banjo. And I've been playing street music a long time before I got on the road, but really became my bread and butter when I got on the road. And I was on and off riding freight trains for 5 years or so, and then I had a little fiasco with the law that spurred me to get off the road for a
Nobody
little
said
bit.
anything to me about you having trouble with the law, boy.
Oh, well, you've said a lot to me about your troubles with the law, ramen master over there.
You don't have to tell everything you know, son.
Anyway,
We don't
it
do a background
necessitated
check to
getting
be on the
off
show,
It's a good thing.
getting off the road for a little bit, and I've been through Asheville before, and I like it, and it seems to like me, and I did pretty well busking here, so I came through here, and linked up with Abby, and it's been great.
That's incredible. So how long have you been linked up with Abby now?
Oh,
6 months.
yeah, we've been doing this
5
since
months?
spring, I guess.
About
Okay.
June.
Since about
Because I got
spring.
here in June, and it almost started immediately after I got here.
Wow.
And I'd never busked before. I've been a musician all my life, traveled all over the world playing one form or another, but I've also had to supplement that with my carpentry work. But this is the first job where I was the world, and still am probably the world's worst busker. And Abby gave me my first $10 tip, and I'm horrible because I don't sing. I've been playing guitar I'm a good guitar player, but I never sang, and it was horrible. And I just sing the same song over and over again. And but it's I've gotten a little better. I have 3 songs now, maybe a few more than 3. But
He
these
can
guys
play
are
a lot of
pros.
different songs now.
I know, but Dusty, I saw him the first day, and I saw him busking. I was like, I can't do that. And then I saw Abby, and I didn't really get to see her because there was too many people around her. And it's been an amazing thing to go from playing the guitar and then playing as this group, as the Tater Boys, playing with her. It's been is one of my favorite experiences I've ever had playing music, and I've done it a lot. So
But there's something special about street performance that I feel. I mean, you can have some intimate shows where you're on stage, but it's different when you're on the street. We have characters that come in and out of our set, for example.
Right.
Sharon, Gene. Yeah, these are guys that are fixtures in downtown Asheville.
Right. Yeah,
That,
folks that live down there.
become a part of our show when they're there, and it's not only, but people think it's a highlight of their day, but it's really the highlight of ours because they're a hoot.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and just seeing the reactions of people too. There's something that's really special, especially after a performer has been there for a while, because there's this, whichever performer that is, because there's this like feeling of safety that kind of starts hovering around them, because now you're walking by and it's like, hey, how's it going? Everybody kind of knows everybody by
Right.
first name. They know the vendors on the corner. They know the folks that are passing by. You're a familiar face. And, there's something kind of sweet about that, too.
And it's community is what it is, and it has all streams from stern to steerage. There's guys on the bench that'll probably be there tonight after we leave that sit and watch us, and we'll they're like sidewalk barkers. They'll say, "Oh, to drum up business for us." It's amazing that they would do that, but they do. It's funny.
Yeah,
We give them
they
money
watch
so they
after
can
us.
tip us sometimes.
Yeah, that's happened a few times.
they
And there's
wanna
been
be
a
able to
few
tip.
times where I've
Hey,
gone
can I borrow
down
10 bucks?
there. Yeah, well, I've gone down there to go street performing and then end up giving out all the money that I make or more than the money I make a few times. But, for me, it's about going down there and spending
Right.
time with folks and putting a good foot forward and setting a good example, too, Asheville sets a pretty good example for other cities as far as street performance goes. A lot of cities, it's illegal, and it's becoming illegal in a lot more cities as
Right.
time goes on. So it's becoming, it's kind of a sad, frustrating thing for the migratory street performer.
Sure thing. And I think in the same regard, you each set a really good precedent for a street performer in Asheville. I think when I've seen you guys really doing your thing, that's what people should shoot for when they're playing on the streets of Asheville, is having a couple hundred people standing around dancing. It's something I've seen you do, and it's something that has to feel really nice when you can create that environment and create this space that's just on a street corner somewhere.
Well, hey, thank you, Brenda, for sending us a little tip there.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks, everybody who's tuning in on the YouTube here. I really
YouTuber.
appreciate everybody hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for
Where the
joining.
Tater Boys are.
But I think for the most part, like downtown, when you're out there street performing, cities a lot of time they get frustrated with street performance because they don't understand it. And so city after city starts making laws that overregulate street performance and it crushes the street performance scene. Like, for example, they'll be like, oh, well, what if people are drinking on the sidewalk while they're playing music?
Right.
And my answer is, don't you have laws against drinking on the sidewalk? Stop them for drinking on the
Right.
sidewalk.
Right.
What's
With
the
busking.
what does that have to do with street performance? And then they're like, oh, well, what if people are littering? Well, then tell them not to litter.
Right.
Isn't that a law? You don't make driving illegal just because sometimes people drive drunk. That seems a little crazy
Passive
there.
aggressive, yes.
Yeah, right. And then you have another situation where a lot of cities want to look at street performance as a way to curate free music for their city instead of using it as a way to create community. And so, like, you have situations like in Austin, Texas. Thank you, Brother David. You have situations like Austin, Texas, where they are literally scheduling people to be in public space. And at that point, you're not busking. You're being booked in public space.
Right.
You're not busking anymore. And so that's another form of over-regulation at that point. You only really win when it's about community, when it's about getting other people out there to share those experiences and pass things on, and that's how you get that ever-flowing street performance scene. Everything
so in
else
your
is
opinion,
booking.
has Asheville gotten it right?
Right now, they've got it right except for a few things. We still have a 1920s infrastructure. And while we have more and more feet coming onto the sidewalk, for some reason our sidewalks aren't growing.
Right.
So while our performers are in the exact same spots they were 10 years ago, their crowds are now 3, 4, 5 times as big and in the street now.
Right.
There's only 2 places we can actually busk in Asheville. Maybe more. There's probably more than that, but there are 2 that we know for a fact.
Yeah, for,
that we
for
can,
this group.
Because if our crowd that we come in, even at one of those spots, we have to constantly remind people to get out of the road because they're so enamored with the spoons. It happens.
Well, I mean, there are several bands who gather.
Sure, almost certainly. It's not
really
just
large
us,
crowds.
but
Right.
it's very
And-
difficult.
And yeah, it makes it really, really hard because you end up with all sorts of traffic problems. And not only that, we're not the only people out there. People in wheelchairs, they need the crosscuts on the sidewalk. And we need to be able to share
Right.
that space. And it's harder and harder to do that when there isn't that space to be had to begin with.
No, that's a good point. It's essentially like an impromptu festival where, depending on the corner that you go to, you might be able to catch Abby, you might be able to catch Teso or someone else performing. And yeah, I've seen it downtown a couple times where you just really have to be mindful of how big those crowds can get. And people will risk getting hit by a car to see the Spoon Lady. That's something that we learned, I guess.
Yeah, Tub tells them to get out of the street.
All the time because they'll come by Wall Street and I'll say, things like, y'all need to get out of the road because somebody got hit last week and we had to stop playing and everything. So we'd appreciate
we
it.
lost 4 last week.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, and the crazy thing about it is that when you do get around watching street performers, whether it be us or the snare drum lady or, any of the other great acts that are on the street, it's like a kid running with a ball going into the street sometimes. They're not paying attention. It's
Right.
crazy.
Thank you, Kay Billington.
Yeah, thanks, Kay.
Thank you.
I need to bring my bells out just for
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, that would be great.
We love to hear the bells ring.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching over the YouTube who haven't seen us street performing, I have a collection of bells I put at my feet, and when somebody tips us or donates, I end up hitting the bells a bunch of times.
We love the bells.
I love
It's
the
a bit
bells, too.
fun.
And only you can make the bells ring.
That's right. That's my favorite. I know y'all get tired of hearing me say that.
Oh, I don't get tired of
So I
hearing you
have
say
a
that.
huge bell collection.
You can say that
And
between
Abby
every
does.
song.
She's got probably 100 different types of
Oh, here's one
table
right here.
bells. She never goes home without at least one bell in her pocketbook. I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know.
You're the bell of the ball. Oh,
What is
God.
that now?
More bells.
More bells.
They're just every type of bell that's ever been made, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have tons of bells at home.
Oh, that's a cool one right there.
I collect them all the time.
it's like Christmas at Abby's every day because there's just packages.
I would like for that to be my alarm in the morning.
No,
You can
you wouldn't.
record it. Come on, Tab.
So we do round one. Tub and Abby. We do this all the time.
I'm taking Abby. I'm taking
Yeah,
Abby.
she's so mean. Y'all, everybody loves her. I just read.
Yeah.
She did this video, and I said, "Well, I'll read the comments. Don't worry." And I was, kind of help her because she's so busy. She's got us, and so I got there was 7,000 comments. And then when I got through the 7,000, I looked, and then it was 11,000. So I've got 4,000 more comments to read that just said, "Oh, I love her. She's the best." Blah 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 blah.
Are you referring to the "So What I Don't Have Teeth" video?
No. It's just so much. The love for Abby is absolutely, it's wonderful, and it overflows onto the Tater Boys, and we don't deserve it. I'm just telling you that now.
I think you deserve it.
You do deserve it.
Let's not talk about
I do
me
think
getting what
you
I
do
deserve.
deserve it.
I've already. I'm
real.
not praying for justice. I'm praying for mercy over here.
Right.
Everything's good. Let's not. Yeah, but
So, which video were you talking about, Tub?
So what if I don't have any teeth?
Right.
And it has been and this is just face doing them so that I can, if they have questions or those kind of things, I can relay them to her. It's amazing. And then you'll get a reply that has 123 replies to it under that
Wow.
that you've got to read again. And there's no way that one person could possibly do that. And
That's a full-time job.
it is. It's a great fun though, because I'll be honest with you, it's people sharing their stories, man. You know, it's they're doing their storytelling from the other end and how they've been impacted either by her spoons or by her story, or just like we have. You know,
Right.
in a more direct sense, she's directed us in ways that I couldn't imagine, but I've seen it in front of me, the numbers and how many people she's touched, and that's really cool.
What has the response been like for you specifically to that video, Abby?
The response has been pretty huge. Hey, hold on, just thank you, Otto,
Yeah.
Nice.
and thank
Only you can make the
thank
bells
you,
ring.
Brenda.
Love you, Brenda.
But the response has been really, really intense. Actually, it's been really, really intense. The video itself was really hard to make. I had a lot of time just sitting there in front of the camera stuttering and stuttering and stuttering and stuttering. And I don't really know how to explain it, except for it's just an outpouring of all sorts of different stories and thoughts, and it just kind of further puts into focus my need and other folks' need to have, somebody like them that they can relate to,
Right.
to feel not alone. And that's what I really, really got from it. It made me feel not alone, times 400,000. And it was pretty intense.
That's got to be an incredible feeling, because I think you shared some things in that video that are pretty tough to say, maybe even to one person, let alone stand on your platform and share those feelings with as many people as you did. So big ups to you for doing that. I think that's a huge step forward. I've watched the video a couple times now, and I really like the message that you have in there. And I think it ties in nicely with a message that I've been trying to live by myself, which is really just try to let go of judgment. Something that I think we all experience in some way, and it doesn't often serve us well. Sometimes it may be the initial feeling that we have when we see somebody or we hear somebody's music, is we instantly go to a place of judgment. And I've been trying to combat against that actively when I notice it happening in myself, and I think when you pay attention to it, that's when you can really shift it and start to come at it more from a place of awareness and appreciation.
Gotcha.
So we talked about busking a little bit in Asheville. I wanted to go back to that and ask just generally of the group, what has it been like busking in this city specifically for you, maybe some other cities that you've played in? What has this particular busking scene done for you? And what do you think about the growth that the busking scene has been experiencing here? Definitely getting a lot of recognition. I see people out far more often than I ever have. So what are your thoughts on that? And again, what the scene has kind of done for you here?
Before the two experienced buskers speak, the only reason I ended up in Asheville is somebody told me about Asheville being a place to go where you could play music on the street. And
Right.
I'd heard about it before, through the channels. I'd played in arenas and mostly honky-tonk bars and chicken wire kind of honky-tonks down all over. And so the fact that I could play on the street was amazing. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. I'm living proof that you can, if you're a musician and you want to put your stuff out there, that you can do it. But I was glad it was here. But it's the only experience I have is what I've had this year with Abby, and it's been. I don't know if that would be the bar for everybody doing it, because it's been really good for me.
That's great. How about you, Dusty?
Well, I was afraid to come to Asheville the first time because I'd been to New Orleans and I was doing all right there. That's where I stopped faking it on the banjo. I was like playing it like a guitar, kind of playing it
Right.
like plectrum style jazz banjo, which is what everybody does there. And I just gotten a 5-string banjo, and so I I would try to wait for the busking spot, and practice, 5-string stuff
Right.
while waiting to play the spot later that night. And then I realized I was making more money than I was faking it playing it like a guitar.
Almost immediately, or?
Yeah. So that's where I kind of like started with the 5-string banjo. But I think it was to my advantage that in New Orleans there's not a lot of people who play the banjo that way.
Right.
And so I'd heard about how great busking was in Asheville, but I'm like, I can't go play old time there because that's an old time town. But I got here and it was wonderful, and I really like that it's a smaller city with that values its art scene, and I just have a good time. It's a great place to be.
Yeah. Did you feel welcomed by the Asheville community when you first got here?
Yeah, immediately. It was wonderful. I mean, the busking scene is just wonderful. There's some really great people in it, and they welcomed me with open arms, and it was great.
No, it's incredible.
And,
And then how did you get to meeting Abby?
Oh, that was in D.C. Years prior to me playing in New Orleans. Really, no, that was after. But I was still playing it like I was doing like a one-man band thing, strumming the banjo with a suitcase bass drum and a hi-hat,
Nice.
and I was busking on.
I'd have paid $1 to sing that.
I was like the DC version of Yes Ma'am.
We'll just call you No Ma'am.
Yes, sir. But yeah, Abby and the Fly By Night Rounders, her band at the time, walked by, and I squealed, and it's Abby the Spoon Lady, and she did this like dramatic turnaround, like, who, me? And her band was like, yeah, she does that all the time. Yeah, that's when we met. But I got to know her better here in Asheville. That's that. Do you have anything you want to say about that? I don't know what to say about that.
No, that was all helpful.
Okay.
Insightful. I appreciate it. Did you have anything to add there, Abby?
Oh, I'm not so sure. I think Asheville just, I don't know. I like street performing in other cities too, I guess. There are certain cities that I wish would care more about street performance than they do, so I'm going to go kick some people in the shin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good place to get them.
So, I don't know. I'm going to do what I can to go and try to talk to other performers about street performance and how they can put their own kind of group together in their own cities, and try to talk to a bunch of other cities as much as possible, and try to get some folks to, change their mind about street performance in some areas a little bit. So
Absolutely. Would your thought almost be to start a busking collective in each of these cities and try to build the same foundation
not
that
for
has been
me
built
to,
in Asheville?
Yeah.
but
Or are you just going to go and save the busking world?
to attempt to try to give other people the tools to,
Right.
as much as I possibly
People
can.
think Abby's the president of the Asheville Buskers Collective, but she's not.
She's just the brain
She's
trust.
just a spoon lady.
I would have assumed that, Abby, that you were the president, but
I don't know. I'm
when
not in
there's
charge
trouble,
of
that's who
anything.
they call. No, but when there's trouble on the street,
right.
you can see the spoon thing go out like Batman.
Goodness.
Goodness gracious.
So, Abby, something we were talking about a little bit earlier that I was hoping you could share with us were maybe what some of your experiences were like growing up back when I know there was a time where you were hitchhiking and even hopping freight trains. Is that something that you'd feel open to talking about a little bit, and how that's impacted your philosophy in your life now?
I think it opened my eyes a little bit to, how different everybody's circumstances really, really is. Hey, thanks Joseph Roberts for becoming a new member. But everybody's kind of on their own path, doing their own thing. Thank you, Carolyn, Harmon, and Kim. I didn't forget you either.
Thank you.
But for the most part, traveling kind of opened my eyes to America. Just looks really different from the sidewalk up. I mean, it's like immensely different.
Right.
And you watch a lot of news and things like that, and the news generalistically talks about homeless people as if they are less than us. They're
Absolutely.
the other. And nobody is really digging deep as to like why things are the way they are. They're just kind of kicking the dust on the superficial and calling it dirty.
Right.
And it's just really, really frustrating, like for example, I was at a storytelling night. I was telling the story about how there was a tent city in Nashville, Tennessee, and there was a big flood. I think it was 2010, and the flood of 100 years.
Wow.
And it took out tent city. And in that tent city, they had a mayor, they had guards that, you weren't allowed to be in there if you're doing anything bad or anything like that. They had rules and the law and
Right.
the whole 9 yards. There were people there putting themselves through nursing school, going to college, people working full-time jobs, some of them working full-time job and a part-time job. And you say these things to people, and when I said the nursing school part, there was a gasp from the audience, and it's like, these are things that people are going through every day. There are literally thousands of students homeless in their car right now.
Yep.
Right.
Right now. Students.
In Asheville.
We're not talking about old guys that don't want to work and just want to get drunk on the corner. We're talking about students. We're talking about economic refugees.
Right.
That's the right way to put it.
It is really frustrating to watch. The opinion of what social mainstream media is and all this other stuff, and then know the reality. Or like even like you talk about the medicines that homeless folks are given. They're trying out all the new stuff on the homeless folks. Here, try this new pill. We got, these people are giving us a donation. Maybe you'll like it. You're not even really talking to a doctor. It's just, hey, let's try this out on you. Let's try this out on you because I get a little snapback. Thanks, Kim.
So yeah, at that point, you essentially become part of the trial. That's shocking.
And it's frustrating, because you sit there and watch, and they're playing games with these folks' mind. When I first started traveling, they were giving a lot of folks who were suffering from mental illness, this thing called and like a depressant on top of that. So they'd be running up and down, then they'd be taking and falling asleep, and running up and down, then falling asleep. And it's, it's medical world trying out new stuff on the homeless population. It's scary.
That is very scary.
And you watch these things, I mean, and what can I do? I'm a spoon lady, but now I have an audience. So what I'm going to do is try to tell other people they need to be talking to their council folks. They need to be showing up to more meetings. They need to be saying and talking about the things that mean the most to them. Because if you just kind of let the folks that are sitting in the high tower make all the decisions for you, you can't be complaining to begin with.
Right.
You got to go and show up and say you don't like it when you're a good neighbor. And I mean your good neighbor, whether or not he's got a house or whether or not he's sleeping in an alleyway next to you, is on a whole bunch of pills that he shouldn't be on because a whole bunch of people want to get rich for no reason.
Yeah, I feel
you need
your,
to be able to say
I feel your
something about your
frustration
neighbor.
and agree with you that it's something that needs to be voiced. What are some other things that you feel that we can do to help directly, Abby? What are some ways that we can get involved? Are there any organizations that you're familiar with or have worked with in Asheville or elsewhere? Just kind of curious what some things are we can do to get involved in that space there.
First off, every city government is going to have lists of the public meetings that you can attend. So my first suggestion is, maybe even put it on your calendar or your phone to remind you once a week to just take a look at those agendas, just in case there's something that pertains to you that you care about.
Right.
And if perhaps you're free at that time and you can go and stand and say your piece. That's step one, is actually finding out what's going on and what's changing in your area. Another thing is you have to take a look around too, and take a look around at the things that you love about where you're at. And you have to make sure you take the steps to keep those things that you love where you're at.
Right, and protect them.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you like little art galleries, buy your Christmas presents at a little art gallery and make sure that money stays there. Right now in Nashville, Tennessee, you got to go 3, 4, 5 blocks away from the drag in Nashville to find anything that's not made in China.
Right.
I would be so sad if that happened to Asheville. And, and those kind of things, having healthy art scenes, having, a city where people are showing up to meetings, having a city where people are conscious of where their money is going, having a city where people are able to stop and say hi to their neighbors, no matter where their house is.
Right.
Is really, really important. It's about creating that community, and which again goes back to street performance. Why I love street performance so much. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how young you are, doesn't matter whether you're showing up in your Mercedes or whether or not you're crawling out of the bush. It's okay. You go make some money, you go and play your music, you go and share your art form with anybody, and maybe the next guy up the street's going to think it's cool and you're going to make your new friend.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it, and I could definitely almost feel that experience. What are some of the maybe unspoken rules or laws of busking in Asheville that most people wouldn't know go on behind the scenes? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, there's a 2-hour limit for all the busking spots, and so since there is no we regulate ourselves, which means it's real funny. It's some sort of anomaly of the universe that no matter when you walk up to a busker, he just started. Which is okay.
That depends on the busker.
You do regulate,
right.
and you regulate yourself. That's one thing. Is we do 2-hour blocks. We try not to stand on top of each other. There's what's the distance?
40 feet.
40 feet between each busker.
Okay.
But
if you stick your foot out, you can encroach on that last half a foot.
I'm not touching you. I'm not
That's
touching you.
a bad joke. Don't do that if you're planning to busk. Don't be that person.
Please.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one thing that I hope the folks get out of watching us play is having a good time. I mean, all the other stuff aside, we're there to have a good time.
Absolutely.
And play some music, share some stuff. We're there
Music
to have
on
a
the
good
street level, you get to experience like you can't do on a stage, where they're 3 feet away from you. At times, what I love is when we're playing and they want to have a conversation.
It's like I'm kind of in the middle of something, man.
But Abby has to take pictures and everything else in the middle of the spoons, but she does it graciously and remembers that, and helps us remember that that's the reason we're out there.
Right.
Is to give. I forget that sometimes. Get off my base. What are you doing?
Sometimes people enjoy it a little too much, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it is tough some days for folks who go downtown performing as their full-time job. Then it is what it is. That's what you're doing for work. Every now and then you're gonna have a bad day at work. Yeah. We're all human.
Right.
And if you expect anything different, you're in trouble. So, but yeah.
So true.
Are there any resources that you feel are missing for buskers in this town?
I don't necessarily think that there are necessarily resources for buskers in specific, except for, say, sidewalk space, say, having bigger spaces to play music and things like that. I think the biggest thing is affordable housing. There's nowhere for street performers to live. There's nothing affordable anywhere at all.
Yeah, unless
there's like a 1% vacancy rate.
Right.
In Asheville.
And a 0% affordability rate. Yeah, it's. I lived in a doorway the first month I was here because there was no place. I'm out there busking, and if it hadn't been for Abby swooping me up, that's where I would still be, maybe, because even I'm not even so sure working as much as we have where I would have been able to. I still couldn't afford to have gotten a place. So So my options are, which doorway today.
What was that experience like for you the first month of being here? Was it scary?
It was pretty. Yeah, I'm not a young man, and never expected to find myself on the sidewalk. It was very scary. The one thing that kept it from being so scary were the guys that were with me, sharing the doorway.
Right.
They had already been there a while, and they knew. And I was very lucky. I don't know if I was lucky or not. Had some people that helped me, looked after my stuff while I was working, busking during the day. It's really neat, the community that's out there. I'm really glad I'm not doing it.
Right.
But I'm also very glad that I got the experience of being able to do it, of having to do it.
And knowing you can do it.
Yeah, well, it's at that point, you're either going to do it or you're not, but I didn't have a choice.
Right.
I never expected to be in that position ever, and it changed the way that I look at people today. There's no doubt about it.
Sure
but
thing.
It's the Asheville, and there's a lot of resources in Asheville. You can eat there if you're homeless, if you're willing to take a walk or bus ride.
Right.
A lot of good folks handing out watermelon. The watermelon lady, Jan, I don't even know Jan's last name. I wish I did. I've known of Abby stealths around downtown, occasionally stuffing money in people's shoes and leaving jackets, and and to be honest with you, all the other stuff's great, the meetings and all that stuff, but I think that if you can go downtown and just treat somebody like they're human for about 5 minutes is about as good as a $5 bill.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought it back to that, because I wanted to make that point as well. Is just, even if you can't help people with material resources, just acknowledging them and looking at them as a person is, unfortunately, not necessarily a common experience when you're out on the streets, and it can mean a lot. And develop it, like you were talking about earlier, just being aware of your thoughts, so that you can modify them. Like you can cultivate that empathy, and that's I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's got to be hard when you're already in a tough living situation, and then on top of that, you're getting judged by some or most of the people that walk past you. That can't be a good feeling.
And the crazy thing about it is there are some mental health issues on that, and those people just really don't. Those need more love and they're the hardest to love.
Sure.
But we make a point. It's not so much we make a point; they come running when we're in town. We get a wide variety of folks coming to see us because they feel safe around us, and we let them. And the funny thing is our crowds have made them feel good too, and I think that's very important. That's part of that community, is bringing the tourists to let them know these are, residents here just like anybody else is. Showing the love. Well,
that's what I love about watching you guys play, is you just have this nostalgic feel to you, and it's hard to feel bad while you guys are playing.
Well, I'm playing a tub, so
yeah, exactly.
We can.
Tater Boy.
Where did the name come from?
Oh God,
we had this idea for what should have been a great name: Abby the Spoon Lady and Mashed Taters.
Ooh.
We ain't even gravy.
Nice.
But mashed taters actually isn't such a great name, because when you're on stage or you're playing out on the street, and people are going, "Who are you?" We go, "This is Abby the Spoon Lady, and we're mashed taters." Like, you really have to, like, it just doesn't. You can't.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. The
No.
consonants aren't all there. Just kind of, people are like, "Oh, mashed potatoes or something," and you can't really hear it. So we changed
actually-
it to Tater Boys.
And Abby did it because one day we were getting ready to do some actual, finally put a flyer out or something. I forget what it was. And she said, "The mashed potato boys," like that, and looked at me. And
We weren't even the mashed potato
and
boys.
no, and then
yet.
she goes, "How about Tater Boys?" I said, "You got it." And that's what we've been ever since. There's not a lot of thought went into it.
"We still
to
ain't
be
eating
honest with you.
gravy."
Oh my goodness.
So, would you guys like to play a tune for us? Is it
Sure.
a good time to do that?
Just happen to have a tub with me.
Oh, how convenient.
Let's see.
Never
here.
without my banjo. Much to the
That's
chagrin
the
of my
truth.
Keep
bandmates.
your tub in the back pocket.
I'm,
Probably not too portable.
There we go, Abby. See how good I've gotten?
Oh, yeah. You had to hold your tongue on that one.
Yes, I did. I had 2 or 3 really good things to say.
How many tunes we got?
Tub's got one in the back pocket.
You guys can do 1 or 2 now if you want. You can do it back to back.
Oh, did you want to do another one later?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Cool.
Does that work?
Yeah. I was just,
Cool.
what did we plan? What was that other one?
We don't know.
Let's do Crawdad Song. /Froggy.
Shout out again to Matt Dunn with AV Live. Making it happen.
This is a favorite tune of mine. It's one of the most ubiquitous American folk melodies out there, and I use several sets of lyrics. Called you ubiquitous. Well, you get a line agate, oh honey. You get a line agate, oh babe. You get a line agate, oh we'll go down to Crawdad, oh honey, babe of mine. Well, Frog went a courting and he did right, Frog went a courting and he did right, Frog went a courting and he did right, sword and pistol by his side, Well, he went down to Miss Mouse's door, He went down to Miss Mouse's door, He went down to Miss Mouse's door where he had often been before, They took Miss Mouse upon his knee, Said, Miss Mouse, will you marry me, Without my Uncle Brad's consent, I wouldn't marry the president, Well, you get a line agate, oh honey. You get a line agate, oh babe. You get a line agate, oh we'll go down to Crawdad, oh honey, babe of mine. Well, Uncle Red gave his consent, Uncle Red gave his consent, Uncle Red gave his consent, and we wrote the publishment, man was a Junie bug. She brought the whiskey in a water jug. Well, Alaska man was a big bad snake. Alaska man was a big bad snake. Alaska man was a big bad snake. Chased them all into the lake. Well, you get a line now, oh honey. You get a line now, oh baby. Yes, honey, baby. You get a line now, oh, we'll go down the Crawdad hole, honey. Hey, well, mama don't lie, no guitar picking in the house. So as I tight playing for frog and a mouse. As I tight playing for frog, on two eyes I saw it all. That's sweet honey, babe. Yes, honey, babe.
All right. That was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing, guys. What was the name of that tune again?
It's called the Crawdad Song, or Froggy When a Courtin', or Mama Don't Allow, or How Many Biscuits Can You Eat This Morning? This
Or-
morning.
49 and a ham meat.
This morning.
Ham meat?
This evening, right now.
Where does that tune come from?
The melody is Southern American. I think it's African American in origin. The bulk of the lyrics I use are actually from a piece of political satire from the 1500s in England, but kind of Americanized. But the chorus, Crawdad, you get a line onto
Right.
a pole. That has always been, as far as I know, sung to that melody. And the melody of that English piece from the 1500s is not the same. I looked it up. And
What
it's
gave
really
you the idea to pull
wacky.
that in?
That's often sung to that tune.
Okay.
In America, it's just somehow those tunes or that set of lyrics just became adapted to an American melody. At some point, I don't know
Right.
when, but there's just so many good sets of lyrics to that song, and I tried to pull a little bit from all of them, and I failed because after I came up with all this huge arrangement, I found all these other great tunes with songs with the same melody, and I just couldn't fit them in.
Goodness.
Goodness.
Can't fit them all.
Can't fit them all.
So, Abby, in your most recent video, you give a little bit of an overview of how you started playing the spoons, involving Paula Dean's restaurant, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I wonder if she's going to send me an email or
I
not.
think she's going to. I think she will.
Wow.
I was wondering if you want to go into that at all, just your process in getting started, how long ago that was, and how you were sure in the moment that this is what I'm going to do. How did you make that distinction early on?
I started playing spoons because I was hungry.
Right?
I was hungry. I had no idea that all this stuff was coming with it.
Right.
No, but for real, I had no idea. When I started playing spoons, I was just looking to get by.
Right.
Looking back on all that is kind of awkward. I don't know. I've been in Asheville, North Carolina, going on 6 years now.
Okay.
I was floating in and out of Nashville, Tennessee for a handful of years. I don't even...
Some number of years.
It's all very hazy, because I was floating in and out. I'd leave town for a little bit, come back to Nashville when I felt broke, and because again, it's not legal to go street performing everywhere, and in some cities, it's you go street performing even though it's not legal,
Right.
Ooh,
I'm telling
but
you.
but if
Look for us on live
if I
PD
couldn't go,
next week.
yeah, but if I couldn't go street performing, then that means that I was stuck doing something like flying a cardboard sign or something like that, and I didn't like to have to do those kinds of things, and I would go and I would wait for jobs and this and that, and then nobody ever, you don't make anything doing those day labor jobs.
Right.
Not enough to even get you in a hotel room
To the
for a
next
night.
day. Yeah, barely.
Right. You can't even get in a hotel room and a meal for a night
Right.
off of one day's work. So it's it kind of became a necessity for me to just kind of figure out my own path and become my own boss and
Right.
kind of just figure it out. And at one point, my dad, he said, Abby, I think you're unemployable.
Oh, man.
And I was like, yes, I am. You are
You're on the
completely
same
correct.
page.
Yeah, we can quit arguing about this now. We can move on.
I'm unemployable
This
too.
is
This is the only
great.
job I've ever had I'm good at.
Right. It's good. Once you recognize that, you can
We can move on now. Things
just
are
not
better.
worry about being employed. Employ
Yeah.
yourself. Employ yourself.
We can move on now.
Yeah.
Life is good. But I don't know. Street performance ended up becoming kind of like my second love. I learned to play spoons, and then with street performance, it became this really, really awesome thing. Like people watching, kind
Yeah.
of learning. I love the science of it, figuring out what were the things that people reacted to, the funny faces. I like giving people funny
Yep.
faces. Or like when I brought in the bells, and that was like a whole new petri dish of awesomeness here I could mess with, right? Messing with kids with the bells, teasing folks,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. And none of it was on purpose.
What, you didn't sit down when you were 6 and go, you know what's going to happen when I grow up?
I want to be a spoon.
I'm going to play the spoons.
It's going to
I
be
thought I
all
was gonna be a rock
sparkles.
star, but now I'm glad I'm
Well,
not.
see, yours came true.
Oh no.
When I was growing up, I thought playing
You
the
don't think you're a
spoons would
rock
be
star?
nothing but
I
sparkles.
don't want to be a rock
Sparkles
star. I'm a little
like
too close to
unicorns.
it for comfort.
Yeah. What has that felt like, traveling around town or even outside of town, being recognized?
Oh,
by
it's
people?
hilarious.
Is that something that happens to you routinely?
All the time, and I can see it coming. We went the other day to there was a hobby type store,
Mm-hmm.
and Dusty had gone in to get. Dusty likes to sew, and patch it. I'm serious, he does. So Abby was in the bus. She said, I think I'll just go in here just for a minute. And I said, okay, I'm not going in there. Because I knew what was going to happen. And she walked in, and about 3 seconds later, she comes back out and says, they're after me. And I don't think it's not happened at every time we've ever gone out to eat and stuff. And I stay with Abby. We work together almost all the time, every day. And I don't know exactly how she does it. She can't get to the bathroom. We go to the
Right.
restaurant. We go, there were people spotted her in the middle of the beach in Myrtle Beach at midnight. Abby, the spoon lady. And it's got to be real difficult, And there's some people I think strive for what Abby has, but she's one that truly, and I've heard her say it many times. Boy, I wish it hadn't happened. It's a double-edged sword because with all that platform that she has now to do these great things with, there's a lot of baggage that comes along with that too.
I'm sure.
Well, I feel like it's a weight. It's more of a weight. Like I feel like now I have a responsibility to do something with this.
With that, good luck. But it's true. But you've already done something with it. And the beautiful thing is Abby doesn't see Abby like apparently the other 450,000 subscribers do.
Right, right.
You know, if we can only see ourselves as others do, but you know, and it's I've seen old ladies break down and cry meeting Abby like it was, you know, the only thing I can relate it to is I had an aunt that met the Pope one time. And but literally this lady traveled from Michigan to see us, and we were in Flat Rock.
Wow.
There were people from Florida that had driven all that way just to see her. And it really puts things in perspective, but it makes us very humble because, I mean, we just have to be careful because they'll kill us. They don't care about us at all. You be sure you're good to the Abby girl. You have to worry. We're just Tater Boys. It'll be all right.
We ain't even gravy.
But she's something special. And, you know, the fact that when I came into Asheville, I had no idea. I was homeless, living on the street when Abby, you know, said, "Do you want to make a tub base?" And I didn't even know who she was. I'd never heard of Abby. And somebody handed me the phone the next day when she came by and said, "You want to go for a ride?" I said, "Yes, I do. Please take me with you." And
so luckily someone filled you in.
Yeah. Well, you know, I hadn't been in Asheville but a day.
Right.
But everybody kept talking about Abby the Spoon. I was like, and there was a magazine article that just came out. And somebody gave me that, and I read it, and I was like, wow, man, that'd be great if I could just, you know, maybe busk with her a little bit. And next thing I know, we're busking full time. And she saved my life. There's no, yeah, that's the truth of the matter. Because I'm a pretty smart guy, and I've been working all my life, but I'm not built for the sidewalks, not at 60 years old. And there's a lot of folks that are a lot worse off than I am that are out there. And I knew that I could if I had to, but thank goodness that I don't have to today. And the only reason is because of Abby. Simple as that. And my fabulous tub playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
definitely a part of it. It sounds like you really manifested that one.
Yeah.
You kind of reached out to the universe and said, "Look, I need something."
No, actually, I didn't. See, here's the thing I think people sometimes forget. I didn't reach out for anything. I was to the point I just had to stop long enough for somebody to approach me with it.
Right.
Till my resources were gone, I was going to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Mine were gone. There was nothing left, and that's when I think you have to let go of all the preconceived notions and all the stuff that you thought all your life about what you needed to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I just let it go, and slept on the sidewalk for a couple of days over it. Yeah, and but I met Dusty on the street, and funny thing is I'm hating it, right? Dusty loves it. I'm not saying that he lives on the street. I'm not telling Dusty's story, but he's made it a lot easier for me because all of a sudden I made the decision to make a decision that's the way I want to live. I didn't know you could do that. Oh, you're homeless? Yeah, but I decided to do it. Me and the mortgage company. And,
right.
So, but it's a wonderful thing. We went on a trip and we camped out, and I mean, we did urban camping, man. We had a blast. It was a great experience, but it'll be something I'll never forget, you know. And it comes strictly from the worst day of my life. Brought me to Asheville. So I have to keep that in perspective when things are going on and they don't seem to be, you know, fitting right in. We talk about it all the time. I say, "Oh, my diamonds are so heavy."
Right.
You know, my life is pretty good, guys. If you want to do a life check, go downtown for about 10 minutes and walk around.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
So you said the worst day you've had in your life is what brought you to Asheville. Is that
well,
something you
one
think
of
about
them,
often?
Got stung by 130, almost died.
Right.
You know, and at that point, couldn't work anymore, and that's all I'd ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing. We're getting ready. I'm getting a tattoo made with a swarm of bees on my arms.
That's gotta be terrifying.
I mean, when I met Abby, I was covered and just pelted with bee stings. And that's taken care of itself while I've been here too physically. But my kidney shut down. It was bad.
Oh, man.
Next time you see him, he's gonna look like one of those people who can just is covered in bees, but they don't sting him. Except it's just gonna be a tattoo.
Well, here's the bad thing: is
bodysuit.
There's no place in
Bodysuit.
Asheville you can't go that's not uphill.
Yeah.
And I don't know how good the cameras are, but I'm not a little fella. All right, my legs are about this long. I weigh 250 pounds. Everything's uphill. And they go, "Let's take a walk." And I'll go, "Please, God, not a walk." No walk. And of course, Dusty, he's like a pedicab dude from Minnesota. Rode a bicycle from Washington D.C.
It got rough once I hit Marion.
And they go, "Well, you want to go for a walk?" And I go,
it got
"No."
really rough once I hit Marion.
But he does, you know. And so, but the good thing is, I've lost some weight. We're getting exercise. It's all great.
You're getting your steps in.
Yeah, boy. But it's And we spend a lot of time together, and we've not killed each other yet. It's been really kind of amazing.
Not yet.
It's coming.
That's why we're a 3-piece instead of a 5-piece now.
That's what. Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Don't say anything about that.
Dusty's hair is too nice.
That's right.
He has the best hair.
Oh, thank you. You have great hair
I'm
too.
just pointing
when you,
that out.
When you like have your hair down,
You
I'm
have
like,
the best
wow,
hair.
she has great hair.
You have the best hair.
I appreciate that. I grew it myself.
I have the best hair, I think.
You got the best face hair.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into this conversation. I'm gonna leave it there. You go. Just bust it one time.
You're distinguished.
That's me.
Goodness.
Distinguished. Okay. I've been extinguished before.
So somewhere I've seen the conversation go at each point in one of these episodes is we talk about just the experiences of things like mental health and addiction, or just some of the things that, this is a total curveball. I really pulled this one out of nowhere. We're sitting here having a good time and I'm like, here's a real life question. So just curious if you could share at all, maybe some of your experiences with mental health opportunities and addiction in your own life, either from your own personal experiences or from growing up. Something I haven't gotten too deep into is just the experience of growing up where in a household where there was an alcoholic. That's something that definitely impacted my life and impacted me not drinking until I was 21. Just really kind of stayed away from that lifestyle for a while. And it's something that I'm always mindful of now, knowing that that's in my family, right? Do you guys have any experiences like that, or anything that's helped like dramatically shift your perspective on certain things when it comes to mental health or substance?
They're both looking at me.
That must mean
Tub
you're
is
up.
a fountain
You're up.
of wisdom.
Yeah, my family was eat up with it, but we didn't know. We went to church on Sunday and we drank the other 6 days a week. And,
Right.
it was very, very, there was the most natural thing in the world to drink, and I started drinking when I was 10. But I've been sober now if I make it until March of this year coming up, I'll have 29 years without a drink. I'm no good at it. I tell people all the time I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs when I drink. And that's what happens. I'm no good at it. And there would be periods of time. So I've got a lot of distance between me and my last drink. And I don't want to go into a whole lot about it except to tell you that I live my life in such a way today to where I don't want to put myself in a position to where I would have to take a drink, or where I would make myself think that it would be a good idea. And being homeless on the street and not drinking was a good thing for me.
Right.
And a good friend of mine said, I've been homeless drunk, I've been homeless sober. I'll take homeless sober any day. And so for me, one of the reasons I like this band, and I'm not going to tell anybody else's story or anything else, is the fact that it's not an issue here, which it's not an issue for me anymore. Your drinking doesn't bother me. My drinking bothers me.
Right.
But being in a situation where that is not a factor, because I've played a lot of bands in my life, and it's always been a factor.
Right. It normally is.
And usually it's right when we get to a pinnacle point where we're about to make something happen and somebody gets drunk, or ODs, or something happens, and that's always the catalyst, is a substance. But it's mental health. It's the very base of it.
Right.
But it's very nice not to have to even. And the funny thing is, we're on the street every day, so we deal with a lot of people that are drinking, which is a good thing for me. I need to see a wet drunk every once in a while to remind me of what I am.
Yeah.
And what I could be if I just reached out and took one drink. And I'm not saying one drink would do it, but I know enough about it that if I let myself get away with one time, I would probably be drunk by Friday. So
Totally
it's a freedom, but it's a choice that I have to give myself. People say, I don't have a choice. I can't drink anymore. I'm an alcoholic. No, you got a choice. I give myself permission to drink every day. I just have to think it through and say it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fellowships and things that I've experienced that I won't go into here either.
Sure.
This is not the format for it. It's funny now, and a lot of those fellowships, there used to be things talking about in press, radio, and films. Now there's the internet, and there's podcasts, and there's other things that anonymity is very important for only one reason, and that's so that we can remain the same, and that if you work a sort of program and something happens and you fall short, which does happen, you don't give that fellowship or whatever it is a bad name. So I'm definitely not a representative of that. I'm just telling you that I've not had to drink in a long time, and I thank God. So it's been good. These two are pretty good.
Yeah, well,
She likes the iced tea though. I'll just say.
sweet tea or iced
Sweet,
tea?
no, it's sweet iced tea.
Yep.
Sweet tea.
It's good stuff.
I do.
This is an intervention, Abby. I guess you wonder why we brought you here. Lipton's is.
I'll go first with my letter.
There you go. Right. I love you, Abby. You're okay. No,
Abby, when
don't
you
do it.
drink sweet tea,
Yes.
I watch a lot of intervention. I'm kind of ashamed about it, but
Well, I really, really think that we've got a lot of cool stuff going on for us in the future here. We have a lot of stuff booked up in the spring. We're going to be posting some show dates here coming up the next couple of weeks or so.
very cool.
And we list our stuff on Facebook, Bands in Town, Songkick. You can find Google search pretty easy. I am packing up my trailer here in Asheville. I'm going to be living full time in the school bus pretty quick. And that's going to be fun.
It's a great bus.
Thanks. I have no idea how to do this, though. But I'm going to figure it out. You know.
You have to get rid of some of the quilts.
No, I don't have to get rid of quilts.
Okay, well, I tried.
No.
Do you
No,
have a lot of quilts?
I do have to get rid of quilts.
She runs a quilt
actually.
rescue.
I pick up quilts from the Goodwill bins
Yep.
on a consistent basis. And I know eventually I can't shove them all in the bus.
They also make a great backdrop for all our videos.
That's a
They
good
do.
They do
point.
make a pretty good one.
But I need like 365 more of them if I'm going to upload
And
one
somebody
day.
said last night, and I thought this was very observant. They said, "Oh, the blanket works great because of the sound. It helps, just like what you have in here."
Oh,
Right.
I didn't really
yeah.
think about that, but I thought giving Abby way too much credit.
It does help a little bit with the sound, but for the most part, I just really, really like busy, cool stuff. I have a
Busy, cool
large,
stuff.
I have a lot of vintage clothes. I have a lot of
Aprons,
I have 1,000 aprons,
Oh my
pocketbooks,
gosh.
and that's not an exaggeration.
baskets,
I have Caron Ann baskets.
fingernail things.
There's a magic box that
Millions
like
of
folds
fingernail
out. It's like
things.
this big, but then it gets this big.
It's a magic box. It's true.
It's embroidery stuff.
Oh man,
Right
it's
now,
you up right now.
coming fresh off the road, I have more clothes than I've owned in literally years because she lets me throw them in the corner. I have like 3 extra outfits.
Oh,
It's
nice.
wild.
Really
got a pair of
expanding the
shoes.
wardrobe.
Yeah, but I don't wear them except
I
on
know,
stage.
but we got him in shoes, man.
Yeah. It's important. These are the things that matter.
Actually, you know what the truth is? This stuff that we've been going through, it's funny because I'm the oldest, so I'm 20 years older than Abby, 30 years older than him, and I've been around a while, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and they've just brought me into this whole new world. Number one, they're both really in tune with the music that we're playing. They know the history, they know, which makes it really great. Because I came into it, I've listened to it all my life, but I've never really thought about it, didn't really care that much, but I do now. So, but these two are historians. I'm going to pick that. But so if you want to know about old time music, either one of these two can.
Do you have a fun fact you can drop for us right now?
Oh, fun fact.
I'm leaving it wide open for you.
Oh, that's so wide open. Do you have a fun fact?
Do I have a fun fact? I have a fun fact. One of the songs that we posted on YouTube, for example, Oh Joe Clark, is about somebody who was real and living in history at one point. And a lot of the songs really are kind of like that, while folks would use them as news songs too. We talk about songs like Railroad Bill. Folks would like pass along song to song to tell a news story at some points and to pass along ideas and things. Other good examples of that be a lot of those old murder ballads and stuff that are floating around. So a lot of the songs that we're playing are just kind of bits and pieces of American history, and a lot of them have kind of shady, gray histories to them, the songs do, because they'll take bits and pieces of this song over here or this song over here, and then after a while it'll get this melody from over here. And so what our version of the song in America is could be totally different than the same song, different version in another part of the world. And to me, all that's like super fascinating.
Yeah, I got a fun fact. I just discovered this fiddle player from Iowa, and I'm from Wisconsin, so it's like northern folk music is interesting to me, but it's not as well preserved as southern folk music. And so I was really excited to find this old fiddle player who was discovered, I don't know, within the last 10 years at a Minnesota fiddle contest. But he was a fourth-generation fiddle player and accordion player, and his name's Dwight Lamb, if you want to look him up, and he was playing he was playing these tunes that were passed down in his family they originated in Denmark, but they'd gone fully extinct in Denmark, and they were living intact in Iowa.
Wow.
And so that stuff was exciting to me. Kind of goes off what you said.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's a good example.
No, it is a good example, and you just see the different ways that music gets preserved, whether it's through family, through lineage, or through community, and all these different pieces kind of come together and create some of the pieces that we're most familiar with and listen to.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but I would love if you guys could play another piece.
Okay.
Is that something we could do?
We're better
Sweet.
playing than we are being looked at.
I guess so.
I like mixing it up.
You're pretty good at talking.
Yeah, but I got nothing to say.
But you just say it anyway.
Just spit it out.
Yeah. So this tune is called, it's got a few different titles. The first title's called Chicken Reel, which is, this is sort of like a hokey tune that was originated to sort of like fit this idea of what folk music was, but then people took it and ran with it. In Wisconsin, it's called the Woodchopper's Jig. One of my favorite banjo players, Doc Boggs from Virginia, called it My Old Horse Died. He's put words to it, and so kind of do a little bit of both. And it very much fits with Tubbs' comment about, choosing to be homeless. Well, me and the mortgage man.
Yes.
Can't live right, I don't want to live wrong. That's why you hear me singing this song. Want y'all understand what I have to say. Once I had a fortune, but I threw it away. Well, my old horse died and the mule went lame. Lost my cow in a poker game. Cyclone came one summer's day. Blew my house and the barn away. An earthquake followed for to make it good. Swallowed the place right where it stood. The mortgage man, he came around, but it's hard to lay claim on a hole in the ground.
live right, I don't want to live wrong. That's why you hear me singing this song. Want y'all to understand what I have to say. Once I had a fortune, but I threw it away.
Abby the Spoon Lady and the Tater Boys. Crushing it. That was great, guys. Thanks so much. Really like the roll that you had at the end there.
Oh, thanks.
That was nice. That was really smooth.
Thanks a
You got a
lot.
roll? Nobody told me. Nobody's giving me a roll. Some to eat.
Roll all
Love the
night and
roll.
every
Getting
day.
pretty hungry.
hungry too.
Yeah, me too.
So what can you tell me about that tune?
Oh, I mean, it's I don't know. It's a fun one. I really like different takes on it. So like as I said earlier, up in Wisconsin, they call it the wood chipper's jig, and it was passed around in lumberjack camps. And I don't know where it originated, but I know it wasn't. It was like written as a commercial piece to kind of emulate what folk music was, but then it was picked up all over. And Doc Boggs, one of my favorite banjo players from Norton, Southwest Virginia. I really like him because he's one of the preeminent three-finger old-time pickers.
Okay.
Which is he played the style that or a style that preceded the evolution of bluegrass, and a lot of times that's forgotten. So I really like that, and yeah.
That's neat. I like how you seem to be the encyclopedia of the music that you guys play.
I'm just a nerd.
Just a big old music nerd.
So,
Cool.
thank you.
Well, any saved ammo or anything that you'd like to shout out, Abby? Or just give us a read into what's coming up, where you guys are heading next.
I've got a Patreon
She's got a Patreon. Check that out.
and a YouTuber.
A YouTuber.
And,
We're on the YouTuber.
and
Check me on the YouTuber.
And there's a Tater Boys Facebook and a Spoon Lady Facebook and a Spoon Lady fan group. And we got shows coming up.
Okay, where at?
And well, lots of different spots. Our next shows are the Bright Box Theater in Winchester, Virginia. I think our first two shows are sold out. We have a third one that we're about to list. So that'll be New Year's Day.
Okay.
New Year's Eve,
Very cool.
New Year's Day, and then we'll probably do one January 2nd up there also.
Okay.
I thought that
Excellent.
was January 1st earlier in the day.
I don't know.
We'll have to
Two January
consult
1st
the
shows.
calendar. Cool. 2 January 1st shows.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, thanks for joining me again today, guys. This was episode 3 of Breathing Room. I'm your host, Rob Lavati. Before we wrap today, just want to thank Abby the Spoon Lady and the Tater Boys again for joining. Want to shout out Asheville Play Studios, as well as Matt Dunn and AV Live. And Abby, I just got something for you here real quick. This is a bottle of Riverbend CBD. I have some coming in for you guys as well. It didn't come in the mail yet, but this is something that I use on a daily basis. Helps me a lot with sleep, anxiety. It's great for pain as well. So something just to share with you, and thank you for joining today. Hope you get to try it. Let me know what you think.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Really
on, guys.
enjoyed it.
All right. Until next time.
We're out of here. Don't be a tater hater.
Don't forget to breathe.
Oh, yeah, don't forget to breathe. I'm supposed to say that, huh?
Just cut it in.